In the top right side, we're looking at the main base. It's also the battle of the YouTubers, by the way. We have to mention that. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of the Dutch Terran player, who is currently teamless, and a couple of the boys are leaving town, or at least one. It is uThermal.
And in the bottom left-hand side for the Shopify Rebellion, it is Harstem.
Yeah, and then I guess the last thing we truly need to mention is that these two were teammates for a very, very long time. Harstem just joined the Shopify Rebellion a couple of months ago, but before that was part of Team Liquid for quite a few years. And uThermal just departed Team Liquid, but he too was on the roster for a very long time. So these two, I'm sure they have practiced together. They have traveled to events together when Team Liquid booked their travel at the same time. And they just share so much history, and it's always fun. There is a probe on the lookout for something, but it does not find what it's looking for.
Yeah, it'll miss it as uThermal will get away with the proxy barracks here. We'll see what he decides to commit. They're most likely a Reaper to start, but will there be any sort of follow-up as Harstem will at least spot that there isn't a barracks in uThermal's main?
Nope, and that is obviously a scout, and you do want to keep this probe around because it is very important to see if there is a factory in the main base or not. If you know the factory is at home, you know you don't have to panic too much. If the factory is not being built at home, that's where you start taking things very seriously and you start preparing for the one base all-in. But at this point, this will most likely just be a Reaper that's out on the map into a factory at home, into a slightly later expand for uThermal, and Harstem is going to be aware of that.
Yeah, very annoying position for the SCV, as it has the option to tuck itself behind or between the minerals and the Nexus as well. So you can see that from time to time it's stopping for a quick second, and that is because uThermal is rearranging it and clicking it again so that the RNG might be in his favor and put it in a position where the probe cannot reach it. So Harstem only choosing to commit to it with one single probe is going to be unable to stop this bunker from going up. And now it's further annoyance for him to deal with. Probably will need a shield battery eventually.
Yeah, especially because uThermal is really committing to this. He is building a backup bunker. That is actually very rare. And he will probably just continue building Reapers. This is cool, man. I kind of like where this is going, because this definitely requires a very different response than the traditional, oh, I'm going to build one battery and I will be out of the woods. And by the time that you're finally able to deal with all the Reapers and all the bunkers in the natural, there is that follow-up to worry about. That could very well be a Widowmine drop into the main base, as we have one Hellion into a reactor added to that factory. It's a cool start by uThermal. I like it. He has a great start, by the way, to this DreamHack season. Of course, uThermal was 2-0, 4-0 after defeating the two Zergies. But now he's going to have to take on all the Protoss players. He knows he's going to have to switch it up a little bit. You can show the same opening over and over again. And this is going to be really annoying already for Harstem, who now realizes that this is not the standard. He's going to have to take this a little more serious. And this is just going to be really awkward and annoying.
Yes, indeed. He goes after the Hellion for a little bit. Now, using the shield battery overcharge, the Hellion will fall as it cannot load into bunkers, but there's no further commitment on that front from uThermal, who is now transitioning onto Widow Mines. The Zealot will finally fall. This Stalker needs to get microed back, and it will just in time. And with this, Harstem should have a defense. Careful with that Stalker. All right.
That was a bit sloppy by uThermal. That the first hit went off on the SCV is acceptable, but I feel like the second time he could have definitely hopped that SCV into the bunker, hop it out again, and make this all drag on a little bit longer, and it really does make a difference. Every second that this continues is normally very good for the Terran. So I think uThermal could have had a little more value out of his second bunker, especially because battery overcharge was done and out of range, and that second battery is going to get drained relatively quick against triple Reaper. So I think uThermal missed an opportunity there for a split second. Reaper showing the Oracle is very big, because now the medevac can take a different route. You see that? He immediately repositions the medevac. That's big, man. That's actually big. It may have looked good for Harstem there to kill a Reaper, but that actually worked out way better for uThermal. And if that Oracle uses a Revelation in the main base, it has 0 energy, and permanently cloaked mines are about to show up. Will he? He does not use Oracle energy on the other side of the map, but these mines will still be permanently cloaked, boys, and that robotics facility is not even done yet. I like this side a lot for uThermal. Even if he's down in workers, I think there's a lot of potential, and he has split the workers or the Widow Mines up. Ooh, that Oracle almost flew into the Widow Mine.
Yeah, fortunately for Harstem, he's not gonna have to use a Revelation on that one, but like you said, uThermal did spread out the Widow Mines to where it is gonna be difficult for Harstem to clear them, so he smartly will just ignore the one that is in the more susceptible position.
Man, yeah.
To come up. Oh, perfect.
Harstem waited a long time. No, it's not over yet. There is another Widow Mine left in the main base, and there is another drop heading towards the natural. Harstem waited a very long time there by queuing up that Oracle. Obviously, excuse me, the Observer. And obviously, he was a little bit like low on gas income because he was forced to pull the probes away from the two assimilators. Here comes the second drop. The Phoenixes really need to do their job. There's a lot of probes. One revelation. This actually did not go too bad. Switching targets. One Widow Mine still hasn't fired yet. One Widow Mine still has not fired. We're going to retarget a little bit. And in the end, settle for the double kill as one mine in the main gets another shut off. It's a lot of chaos. It's definitely not super bad yet for Harstem, as this Observer is now going to allow him to clean up these mines. It's all very acceptable for the Dutchman, but it's very uncomfortable. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I mean, this was great crisis management, though. For what the tools he had to work with, I think that he did everything in the right order here. He dealt with the Widow Mines that were the most pressing, and he had units in position. Like, uThermal played well. He avoided, like you said, thanks to the Reapers, the first scout, I suppose, rerouted the Widow Mine. But Harstem mitigated as much damage as he could have possibly mitigated, I think.
Yes, obviously the Robo Bay is quite delayed, and it all indeed could have been a lot worse, because we have seen similar builds like this over the last few days in the DreamHack Masters, especially Spirit, the Polish Terran, found a lot of success with this kind of stuff, and it's just big explosion after big explosion. Now this pylon on the left side is clutch, but I also love that uThermal... Oh, he's going to set up the booby trap. He's going to show them medevac. Man, this is cool StarCraft between these two. I love it. I don't know if Harstem is going to take the bait, but uThermal is probably going to reveal his medevac. I think he maybe thought that Harstem already saw it, but Harstem hasn't seen that medevac yet, so he's obviously not going to look for something he has not seen. And now there's even an Observer indeed heading towards the worst place. That's going to be funny. I want to look. Oh, he sieges away from it. Wow, unlucky.
Yeah, barely not catching the medevac in range there, that Observer. So on the other side, Harstem is here with the Phoenixes. And this might proc uThermal to actually make something happen with that medevac, but he hasn't just yet. The Reaper's going to find himself in the middle of those Stalkers and die. And yeah, I wonder how uThermal will proceed with that. As he's moving out now.
Yeah, Phoenix is definitely finding some success. Indeed, uThermal has given up on the booby trap, and he's just going to try to drop into the third. He could leave one Widow Mine there, but he instead goes for the main. I wouldn't like to see him unload all 4 mines in the main. I think that you make it too easy for your opponent. Just load one there, maybe one near the ramp, and take it from there. I mean, he has no idea, I guess, where the Phoenixes are at the moment. But yeah.
Right. One more probe will fall in the main. Now uThermal angling towards the natural base as the Phoenix will arrive in time to pick both of those Widow Mines up. And he's going to go into the main instead of chasing after the medevac. However, there is a little bit of reinforcements here from uThermal.
Yeah.
But the scan will deter him from moving forward, as the army of Harstem is much too big.
I think if uThermal would have unloaded 1 mine in the third base and then 2 in the main and then just fly into the natural immediately, completely accepting that you're going to lose everything, I actually think it would have been way harder for Harstem, because then you have to react to 3 potential Widow Mine shots. I feel like now uThermal made it a little bit easier for the Dutchman than it had to be. But it's still a pretty playable game, I'd say. Harstem going for the Fleet Beacon. I actually kind of like that. When the Phoenix count is this high, you may as well. The only thing I'm missing is that +1 air weapons, but he fires it up immediately. A Dutchman to my heart, cats.
Yeah, there's so many Dutchmen here. It's actually insane. As you are also a Dutchman.
Last time
3 Dutchmen in this game.
Maybe you're secretly a Dutchman.
Maybe then. I'm secretly a Dutchman as well.
What's that last name, you know?
Vizcarra, yeah, it's pretty close.
Has a Dutch ring to it.
A little bit, yeah. Right, well, these Phoenix are looking to pick up a tank, but they're gonna think otherwise and go into the main instead. As uThermal seems to be ready to move out. He has not found much success, though, so I'm not sure if this move out is going to be any different, as that Phoenix stays a little bit too long in front of that tower.
His army is very awkward. Yeah, Harstem needs to be careful, because his army is actually not that great. He does have a ball, but uThermal knows that the ball is here. uThermal knows that the ball is here. Is he going to siege up? Oh. Yes, he is. One tank does get softened up by that Nova. Yeah. It's hard to go up the ramp though, right? Stasis trap, a potential force field. But the Disruptor gets picked off, and Harstem's army is just really not that great until the Phoenixes have their anti-impulse crystals. At this point, Harstem has been investing in a lot of things that are very pricey and will be good later on, but right now don't actually do anything for him.
Yeah, he might need those Phoenix here to collaborate against those tanks. If he can lift off all the tanks, then maybe he can do something. But otherwise, if all those tanks are sieged and firing at his army, there's not going to be much of a chance here for Harstem. uThermal well spread. Here come the Phoenix, and they're going to go after those tanks indeed. As Harstem now tries to press on forward, but it's a beautiful concave from uThermal. There is, of course, the shield battery overcharge to work with, but the Phoenix are not really prevailing in the back as more Marines get repositioned to help against those.
And there are still 4 tanks. Harstem has a lot of money, but with the style that he's playing, it's really hard to spend that money because basically everything that's good that he wants to build requires a lot of gas. Like, you can warp in all the slow zealots that you want, but they just don't really do much for you. And if it wasn't for that overcharge gas, this game would already be over. But even with that overcharge, Harstem is still in a very dicey spot, as that Nova was decent. And the Viking count is low, and the Vikings are going to have a very hard time fighting 9 Phoenixes with any impulse crystals. The ball kind of whiffs, and the Disruptor gets picked off. There is another one going forward. That one is decent, though.
Yeah, 1 or 2 Marauders here and there, and the only problem for uThermal was how the tanks were not in range. But now he has put one of those tanks in range, and that makes it so much more difficult for Harstem to actually engage. He's just going to give up this base, and uThermal has to be careful not to push too far into those Colossus. However, these Disruptors have not always been tended to on the side of Harstem, so he has to be careful himself. Good advantage uThermal here from this attack.
Absolutely. Now, the army of uThermal is very low on HP, though, and if there's no goals, these Phoenixes, they actually become very problematic. They can really go to down and disrupt them. Miss Rally did not fire, so it just gets picked off. I actually think for uThermal, the best thing would be right now to just go back for a split second and try to heal up your army and get a couple ghosts out. If you can land 1 or 2 EMPs on all these Phoenixes, you're gonna have the time of your life.
Yeah, and Harstem just doesn't really have enough units on the ground, I guess, to support those Colossus and serve as shield. So even shy to capitalize on the stasis trap that trapped a good chunk of army there. So now uThermal, I mean, he has reconsolidated his army. His problem is maybe just the lack of medevacs, but he's still gonna push on forward.
I think the big Nova goes down, connects with a single Marauder. Yeah, there's just not that much anti-air. Like, even this decent amount of Marines would have a lot of struggles fighting all these Phoenixes, and I think Harstem realizes that, and he's like, you know what? I've got this much energy, I may as well just go for it. I think it's an absolutely perfect call. That's why I think uThermal, it would have been better for him to go back and wait for the EMPs. Because if you land 1 EMPs, the Phoenixes won't do anything. Now instead we lose the Viking, we lose the medevac, we lose the Liberators. Even the tanks are in a lot of danger, and Harstem is really turning this game around.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much more energy on the Phoenix, but there's enough to pick off all the tanks here. So Harstem, you know, every Marine that uThermal basically gets to the fight is a Marine that Harstem has to spend energy on. And at this point, that's the best solution, that he has to save his tanks. Not gonna be possible on Harstem with an unexpected victory here on the turnaround. Wow.
2k minerals in the bank, and even though that base was up and running, Harstem actually, during all that pressure, was not even able to saturate his gases properly. He only had 1 prop on both those gases, and that's why he just could not spend his money. But really good decision there by Harstem to just be like, you know what, I have this amount of Phoenixes, you have a decent amount of Marines, a Viking, a Lib, but I actually think the Phoenix alone can win this fight. I don't care about the Marauders. I don't care about the tanks. They don't shoot up. The Phoenix time to shine is right here, right now. And it absolutely was. Because there were ghosts on the way. And everything would look so different if we have 1 or 2 ghosts in the mix. Then you just can't make those moves. So really good job by Harstem, hanging in there, not losing everything, trying to save that 3rd Nexus, even though he desperately needed it for the gas income. But he just said, no, I can't fight right now. But maybe if I give up the base, there will be another opportunity that presents itself, and that was the opportunity, and he fully went for it. Well done.
Yeah, well done indeed, and definitely another extension for uThermal, right? That Harstem on the ropes. I think, like you said, if he just pulls back, reconsolidates, brings out a little bit more of an army, then he could just close out the game. Because Harstem couldn't even fight uThermal outside. Maybe that's what made uThermal keep going, is because Harstem didn't feel like he had enough army to even fight him after the stasis, right? So, yeah, I mean, difficult call to make either way.
Yeah, I guess maybe uThermal really did not want to go up against carriers. He's been pretty vocal about this on his own stream, that sometimes he knows what the correct ways are to play against carriers, but he just absolutely hates the game so much that he tries to close it out in a different manner, even though he knows it's not necessarily the correct call. And maybe he just felt like, well, if I don't do anything, the moment you see the purple lasers of the Phoenix and they have any impulse crystals, I mean, you know that you are going to face carriers if nothing happens. So uThermal, I think, got a bit stubborn trying to end it, because it was actually going all right. It definitely wasn't looking bad. And Phoenix Colossus is really good, but if the Terran army grows, it's definitely not invincible. Once EMPs come out, we get a few more Vikings, we have all those Marauders. Like, the Skytos army is actually going to struggle a lot fighting just a stronger, bigger Bioforce with EMPs. uThermal probably just didn't really not want to play against carriers and tried to end it before, but it backfired.
It did backfire indeed. And now we are in the second game of this series. Let's see if there is going to be a third one. But the man that does not want the third game is in the bottom left-hand side, up 1-0, Harstem, for the Shopify Rebellion.
In the top right side of 2K Atmosphere, we are looking at the main base of the Flying Dutchman, playing as the Red Terran Teamless. It is uThermal.
Okay, Harstem's actually scouting for proxies again. Not going to find it in this location, though, so far.
I think a really critical moment in that game as well was uThermal dropping the ball a tiny bit on the second bunker, because the SCV had 2 hits to tank, and it was very obvious when one Stalker walked forward that it was going to try to kill it. He could have hopped it in immediately, but even if it soaks up one shot, then the second shot you definitely want to hop the SCV in, because the double bunker is a big investment, triple Reaper is a big investment, and I thought it was very close to paying off. But then it became a bit too easy for Harstem in the end to close that out. And the moment that Harstem is done with that, that's when he can start getting a little bit more ready for those permanently cloaked Widow Mines. And I do think, though, that uThermal got maybe a little bit unlucky with Harstem not dropping a Revelation in the main base, because he used Pulsar Beam in the center of the map to fight the Reapers. And if he would have dropped one Revelation, Harstem would have been in a world of trouble, because then he wouldn't have a Revelation at home to reveal the mines.
Yeah, and there was 3 or 4 different locations that he had to use Revelation on, so it was never going to be an easy task, but having the Revelation available and those Phoenix pick up 1 or 2 of those mines before they could actually finish burrowing made things a lot smoother for Harstem. Now,
this SCV is struggling, man. uThermal definitely not winning the RNG game at this point, but the Reaper is here to save the day. And then that bunker should still finish up. We have a Zealot. The Zealot would love to get one hit off on the SCV. This is where you really pray that the SCV doesn't take a weird turn. Zealot wants to get hit off. Zealot gets the hit off. That is bad, man. We know that uThermal can definitely get pretty tilted over little things like this. This is not the start that he was looking for.
Yeah, the Zealot's gonna sacrifice its life. Most likely not even, as the Reaper does not pursue, and now the Stalker's here. The bunker has to be cancelled. And Harstem with a very good defense. It's 2 Reaper commitment as well.
Yep. Widow Mines already on the way on the other side of the map and the starport, so we could see a somewhat similar opening to the previous game, but I'd be surprised if uThermal does the exact same thing again, like with the quick armory. I feel like that's something you throw in once in a best of 3, maybe twice in a best of 5. I don't think you do it 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very potent, and even after that, even if it quote-unquote like failed to some degree, and maybe that's an unfair characterization of the build, but it didn't look like it succeeded to me. Like, it looked like things went really well for Harstem, and still uThermal had a strong game after.
Yeah.
Maybe he feels like it's okay.
It feels like he's more setting up the traps this time around. There's a Widow Mines kind of... I like that. I really like that. He's like, hey, last game, when your Oracle saw my Reaper, you flew over it and activated Pulsar Beam. So he's setting up the trap, but if he's going to pick up the mines before that Reaper is even ever out, it's obviously not going to do a whole lot. I like the idea, though, but he's not going to go for it. He's just going to go for the regular Widow Mine drop, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Could you ever use a Reaper grenade to throw probes into the Widow Mines? Now that'd be cool.
It is going to be tough. Raven is going to be the follow-up. I wonder if he cancels that the moment he sees there is another Phoenix in production. Medevac not unloading. I guess we're busy microing the Reapers, but oh my goodness, this is a disaster. That Phoenix is about to pop, and this Medevac is very low on HP. Oh, we need to boost and we need to unload immediately. I don't think we get much done here, but at least you want to be able to unload those mines. Oh, stop.
All right. Oh, okay. That was much better than I think uThermal had any right to do there. Still not a great trade, as both Widow Mines and the Medevac will fall for just the 4 probes. But I felt like at least one of those could have been picked up by the Phoenix, and the Stalker definitely didn't need to take a shot.
It could have been a disaster, right? If that Medevac goes in a little bit deeper towards the bottom left side, the Phoenix comes out, that Medevac dies, and you won't even get 4 probes and the Stalker. So I'm completely with you. It could have been a lot worse. Still not fantastic, but at least we got a scout up and we got some damage. And he did let the Raven finish up, by the way. And that Raven is just going to take a very interesting journey to the bottom right side of the map.
And it's a one-way ticket for that Raven, as there's already Phoenix out and uThermal is well aware. So the Phoenix are gonna show on this side, then maybe the Raven's gonna go and try to poke. But yeah, I'm not sure. What do you do with this Raven if you're the uThermal right now, Brody? Or do you just hide it until later?
Yeah, there's 2 things that he could do. Either he only shows it when he wants to pounce on the 3rd base and he thinks that Harstem is going to play Phoenix Colossus again. Then you reveal it, you drop the interference matrix on the Colossus, and you mess up the rest of the army with your Stim Bio. Or you wait until you make a Marine Marauder tank push, and then you fly the Raven into the natural and drop a bunch of other turrets. Maybe 2 other turrets in the main and 1 in the natural or something along those lines. But I really prefer the idea of hiding it and just revealing it when you want to drop the matrix and basically try to win the game with your first push.
I do like that a lot better too. It sounds a lot better, right? Because if you go for the auto turrets, it's just gonna die after to the Phoenix. So and that might be exactly what's going on right now, as the Raven is now angling to go into the 3rd. It's gonna reveal itself. The Phoenix will pull back, and what's the best case scenario now? You kill 4 probes?
If you're lucky. I'm with you. I think he should have waited. It's very hard to land a Matrix, of course, if there are this many Phoenixes out, but like this is going to delay the production a little bit as we get, what is it, 2 probes maybe? Yeah. I mean, it's obviously not good, but the push is still one with potential. But uThermal cannot allow a mistake. He's actually going to go for a crazy drop, right? There's 2 Medevacs flying towards the top left side. This is very unusual and also a very risky move.
Yeah, and that is just sad. I mean, you traded the Raven for a couple of probes, and that's about it, right? A little bit of mining time, I guess, but...
If these Phoenixes fly into the Medevac, uThermal's going to leave the game. He's going to leave the game.
He is going to leave the game, isn't he?
Yep, this is probably it. GG gets called. Harstem takes the 2